of us in this classroom want justice? Like, we get on the streets and we'll chant, we want justice, we'll hold placards for justice. All you gotta do is ask a person, do you really want justice? Do you really want what you deserve? Most of us, if we're at all introspective, will say, no, I don't want justice. I want grace. Grace is to get better than what you deserve. Justice is to get exactly what you deserve, and my goodness, how many of us really want justice? Because it's the right thing to do. You make a commitment to somebody, and you stay with them. What if they're really mean to you? So you let other people determine your behavior. That goes right back to like, oh, I'll lie about a person if they deserve it. Then you don't have principles, man. And you can't be trusted. I don't trust anybody who's like that, especially people who lie. People who lie, people lie because they're weak. They don't have the strength of character to live with the consequences of their choices. And so when you have someone like that around you, you are friggin' crazy if you trust someone like that. You have somebody around you who like cheats on their boyfriend, cheats on their girlfriend, and you have them like in your social circle, you are crazy. No, but that's just because of it, dude. They're gonna betray the person who's supposed to be closest to them, the person who is supposed to know them the best, who actually gears their life around this one person. They're gonna betray that person. You think they're not gonna betray you? You think that you can go into business with someone like that and that they're not gonna betray you? Well, it's because she does this, or it's because he does that. So people like that will always find a justification for doing what they want to do. Never, never, never underestimate the human mind's ability to rationalize anything. We can rationalize anything. Well, I cheated because, I lied, but it's only because that person. If you think that like psychopaths are dangerous, wait till you see what weak people are capable of. People with no purpose, no moral standing, no virtue, no character. And it terrifies me because I know some of you will find out what those people are capable of. They have 500 words for snow because it matters to them that much. You've got this one word in English which makes things very unclear. At least in Spanish you've got two. But the way that we use the word can have a lot to do with how we see it. So like, for example, I'm asking, what is love? We feel differently about buffaloing as we do about our moms. But we use the same word. We might say, yeah, but you know what I mean. True, but notice what's going on there. I'm having to interpret what you mean. I'm having to make sense of what you mean. But you can't count on the audience to make sense of a lot of things. Like, for example, I said, a lot of students don't understand sarcasm. A lot of students don't understand sarcasm. A lot, like a surprisingly number, where I'll, either me or I'll hear other teachers do it, will say something in class, and students will think like, oh, you really mean that. Like, for example, over on the wall, around Christmas time, I put up some Christmas decorations. I put up a stocking, and I used to put up a sign right above it that said bribes, with like an arrow going downwards. It's a joke. How many people do you think thought it was like serious? Like they really thought that it was gonna be, you could put bribes in there. Yeah, a lot. And you think like, how can you be now, some students are like, how can you be so stupid? It's not stupid. It's a lack of understanding. That's different from being stupid. You know, just because you don't know something doesn't mean that you're stupid. Stupid is a matter of poor reasoning skills. It's not a judgment of knowledge. And so, like, there are some people who know a lot, but they're really stupid. They can't apply it. There's some people who don't really know a lot, but they're not stupid. They don't have the breadth of knowledge yet. So it's surprising though, because how you can't depend on the audience to make sense of what you're saying. But we do that a lot, especially with this word love. In Greek, you've got a whole bunch of different words. You've got this one word, eros. And you can think of eros as like an infatuation. We get the word erotic from that, which is more like an infatuation. It's like when you first meet somebody, and you're like all infatuated, and you're thinking about them, and it's exciting how the heart rate spikes. That's eros. But then they also have this other type of love, stergo. And that refers to a type of like, how do you say it? I'm sorry, I have it backwards. Sorry. Philo, sorry. And that refers to kind of like a friend, like a friendly love, like you love your friends. So that way, if you were to say, like, oh, I love my friend, if I say that to you in English, you just, you have to kind of figure out what you mean by that. But if I say it to you in Greek, like I follow my friend, well, now you understand what that means. Versus if I said I eros my friend. And after that, you've got stergo. And that's more like like family love, a love that you have with family. And then finally, you've got this final form of love, agape, which I don't even know how to describe it. It's a verb, that's for sure. But it's not a sentiment. It isn't an emotion. It's not something that you feel. I guess I'm just going to put it in a bracket instead of a parentheses. I'm going to refer to it as a verb. I'm going to say it's based off of duty. This is a way of thinking about it. It's based off of duty. In other words, if you come across I guess I'll just put it this way. Here's why it matters so much. You'll hear this from people who've been together for a long time. Like, for example, actually, let me back up. Here's a better way of putting it. Who knows what the divorce rate is in the United States? 50%. Yeah, about 50%. Now, you can hear that, and people will hear that, and they'll say, so why even bother? Half of all marriages end in divorce. That's true. Half of all marriages. Not half of all people. Meaning that people who get divorced tend to get divorced multiple times. You know, the kind of people it's like, not my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. They tend to keep finding themselves in those bad situations. Finding the wrong people, being the wrong person, whatever it is. And so, for example, so if you get divorced once, you're very likely to get divorced twice. My sister, she's been divorced 3 times that I know of. Although I haven't talked to her in like 15 years or so, 20 years. So last I heard, she was married and divorced 3 times. Twice the same person, by the way. So let's assume she's never gotten married since then. 3 of you in here would have to get married and stay together for the rest of your lives just to keep the divorce rate at 50%. You follow? In other words, it isn't, half of all marriages, but not half of all people. People who get divorced tend to get divorced a bunch of times. But what we also find is that cultures that have fewer words for love have a higher divorce rate. So English-speaking cultures have some of the highest divorce rates in the world, only have 1 word for it. When you have multiple words for love, divorce rates are much lower. I think, why? How did that make a difference? It makes a difference because your language is going to set the tone for your expectations. If you first meet somebody and you say, wow, this person is just, they're so amazing, I think I'm falling in love, you would say, I'm falling in eros. But what you understand is that love is on this continuum. It doesn't stay in any one place, nor specifically should it. If you stay infatuated with that person for your entire life, you don't have the same kind of a bond with somebody. Obviously, you're much closer with your friends. So when you understand that love starts here, but then eventually you stay together for a while, and then you start to become friends. You start to dress normally around them, and you start to be yourself a bit more. You're more comfortable with them. They hang out with your friend groups. You see that it starts off here, but it eventually moves into philo. And once you're there, you still have some of that eros, of course. That's still there. But you realize that you've moved into something that's actually deeper and more sustaining. People have friendships for their entire lives. Your friends are the people who really know you. At the stage over here, it's exciting because you're getting to know a new person. It's all new information. It's novel. Here, you actually know the person, if that makes sense. Now, if you've been together for even longer, after that, again, if your language supplies the understanding, you recognize that your goal is to move into this. So now you're in love. Of course, you still have, in this case, you're in philo. You still have some of that eros, but you're looking forward to becoming stergo. And this is when you start to, you're together so often, like, if your family invites one of you, they're inviting, like even your friends, if they invite you to something, they're inviting both of you to something, because you're just basically like one unit. Maybe quite literally, you get married and you become family. Now, when you have that, you're still very much friends. You have less of this eros, but you understand that what you've gained is much deeper than the little bit of sentiment that you feel like you've lost. Now, if your only word is love, you start having conversations with people like, oh, we've been together for so long, it's like, I don't know, it's like that spark, I don't know, it's like I love them, like, but I'm not in love with them, if that makes sense. I don't trust people who talk like that, by the way. So, because they don't really mean it. They don't know what they're saying. It's like a person who says right at the end of every sentence. I don't trust people who say right, because they don't believe themselves. They're trying to convince you. They're like checking in with you to make sure that you're still on the same page. If you pay attention, you're going to see how many people do that. We have faculty meetings here sometimes, and she's not here anymore, but we had an AP who used to say right almost every sentence. And I would answer her, no, I don't know. Right, okay, good, right. And then other teachers started doing it, and then the person kind of realized at that point how often they do it. But it indicates a weakness of position or confidence. So when you get to this point here, it's like your family, you're super close, you're finishing each other's sandwiches, but then you realize that there's something that's deeper, which is this thing over here, agape. If any of you guys go to church on Sundays and they talk about love, that's the word that they're actually using to describe that love. Like you ever go to a wedding and you hear them like exchange vows and they go over like 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient, love is kind, love doesn't keep accounts. You see it on greeting cards all the time. The word that's being used there is not love. It's this word right here, agape. It's a duty. It's something that you do because it's the right thing to do. And you do things for somebody, it's completely selfless. There's no emotion in this at all. If you have, say you see somebody in the street, good example. On Saturday, I went to the Padre Dodger game. Coming back on the trolley, and it was neat. There's this guy on the trolley who, how do I say it? He needed to be removed from the trolley. And so I look forward to stuff like that. But it was just a kind of an ugly situation, and it was neat. Dodger-Padre fans came together and threw this person off of the trolley. But there was one person who was kind of getting involved. You can see they really didn't want to, man. Just wanted to go home. But why do you do it? Because it's the right thing to do. Not because you want to, not because you're even concerned about the people around you. You don't do it for that. You do it because it's the right thing to do. It's like telling the truth. Why do you tell the truth? Because it's the right thing to do. Yeah, but what if I want to get away with something? Yeah, because then you're using a person as a tool. You're not doing the right thing. And so it's hard for us to get our heads around that. Like if I ask a person, for example, if I ask anybody in here, would you consider yourself to be a good person? People are like, yeah, I'm a good person. Like, what's so good about you? People will say things like, well, I'm nice to people. Or I'm respectful towards people. Again, you find that people who talk about respect the most are usually the least ones to show it, but let's just say that's true. So you're respectful towards people. Yes. You're respectful towards everybody? Well, I'm respectful towards people who are respectful towards me. That's not this then. You're not doing it because it's the right thing then. You're doing it because you think it's the right thing for you. It's entirely self-serving. It's not because it's the right thing. If you're a respectful person, you're respectful no matter what. What if people don't deserve it? I don't know. Like, are you nice to people? How many people deserve kindness? How many people? If I were to ask you, would you rather have justice? How many of us in this classroom want justice? If we get on the streets and we'll chant, we want justice. We'll hold placards for justice. All you got to do is ask a person, do you really want justice? Do you really want what you deserve? Most of us, if we're at all introspective, will say, no, I don't want justice. I want grace. Grace is to get better than what you deserve. Justice is to get exactly what you deserve, and my goodness, how many of us really want justice? It's like a friend who got pulled over for speeding, and he's so pissed off about it. And he's like, dude, it's like that one time I was speeding through there. I'm like, dude, you speed all the time. So yeah, but not there. Like he's pissed off at the one time he got caught speeding in that one area, but he speeds all the time. Which it's interesting, and he's arguing about it, and I'm thinking, like, it's funny how you want justice in this one case, but nowhere else in your life do you want it. And so to do the right thing no matter what. And when you talk to, I don't know if any of you guys know those old couples, they've been married for like 109 years, and they argue back and forth, and you're like, why are you guys still together? You guys seem to hate each other. And they'll say, because it's the right thing to do. You make a commitment to somebody, and you stay with them. What if they're really mean to you? so you let other people determine your behavior. That goes right back to like, oh, I'll lie about a person if they deserve it. Then you don't have principles, man. And you can't be trusted. I don't trust anybody who's like that, especially people who lie. People who lie, again, people lie because they're weak. They don't have the strength of character to live with the consequences of their choices. And this is why people will lie. They'll manipulate because they're too weak to handle the consequences of their choices. And so when you have someone like that around you, you are friggin' crazy if you trust someone like that. You have somebody around you who like cheats on their boyfriend, cheats on their girlfriend, and you have them like in your social circle, you are crazy. No, but that's just because of it's, dude, they're gonna betray the person who's supposed to be closest to them. The person who is supposed to know them the best, who actually gears their life around this one person. They're gonna betray that person. You think they're not gonna betray you? You think that you can go into business with someone like that and that they're not going to betray you? Well, it's because she does this, or it's because he does that. So people like that will always find a justification for doing what they want to do. Never, never, never underestimate the human mind's ability to rationalize anything. We can rationalize anything. Well, I cheated because, I lied, but it's only because that person... And again, that person, they're self-centered, and why do they do it? It's a lack of understanding. They don't understand what they're doing. That's all it is. But man, if you see that person and you think that somehow you're different, there's no way, man. There's no way, because whether a person lies to you or not has nothing to do with you. It has to do with them. Just like if you lie to another person, it's got nothing to do with them. It's got everything to do with you. If you're a liar, you're a liar. If you're a cheater, you're a cheater. It's just going to express it. It doesn't mean you're going to cheat in every single circumstance, but it means you're capable. It means that you have to be watched, because the only thing that's stopping you from cheating or lying or stealing in any of those circumstances is something arbitrary, something entirely invented. Not a principle, not a you never lie, you never cheat, you never steal, but something of I don't feel like that person deserves it. Finish that sentence. Yet. I don't have a reason to do it yet. Or more likely, I don't have an opportunity yet. But all of them have something in common. They express a weakness of character. And understand what I'm saying. This is not you're a weak character. Does anybody in here not have a weakness? Is anybody in here not susceptible to something in our character? The problem is not that we're vulnerable to those missteps. It's that we'll pretend like we're not. And that's how we become vulnerable to it. Because we think like, I would never, clutch our pearls. Look off in the distance, I would never. I don't know, man. Get ready. You might be about to do it. You know, whenever you feel like you are completely involved. Instead, if you're a person who says, like, man, you know what? I'm the kind of person who is likely to lie. So now you know that about yourself. So you have to watch yourself very closely. If, like I'm thinking of, like, I have friends who did a lot of cocaine and they became addicted to cocaine. 3 who I'm thinking of particularly, I only know 3 who got off of the stuff. And I asked them, like, so how'd you do it? Like, how do you not do cocaine anymore? All 3 of them gave me the exact same answer. Because it's not in front of me. That's it. They're so addicted, they will do it if you put it in front of them. So how do they stop themselves from doing it? Yeah, they avoid situations where cocaine's gonna be in front of them. They've gone to parties before where it was there, they had to leave the party because they know themselves. It isn't a weakness of character to have that kind of an addiction or to have that kind of a temptation. It's a strength of character to be able to walk away from it, to know yourself enough, and to allow yourself to be aware of your own vulnerabilities and yet not shrink away from them. It's that thing when we say, I would never. I mean, and again, maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you wouldn't. But like I asked that question I don't know if I asked you guys this in the first week of school, but I usually ask this question. If you were living in 1930s Germany, do you imagine that you would have been a concentration camp guard? Do you think you could have done the things that those guards did? And again, if you clutch your pearls and look off this and say, I would never have done those things, I don't know, man. I don't know. Overwhelmingly, they did it. And it's not because they woke up in the morning twisting their mustaches and said, how can I do evil today? How can I kill people in a concentration camp today? They just woke up and went to work. And their boss told them, you're going to kill these people. And they looked around, everybody else was doing it. They then justified it in their minds, because again, never underestimate our ability to rationalize anything. It's war. Everybody else is doing it. If I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. And what happens if you walk away from it? You might be the victim. But there's this great book called Ordinary Men. And it talks about how this Hungarian police force was brought together and they went out to murder Jews. And the guy who wrote it is describing it. But essentially the person who was ordered to give the order, their officer comes out and gathers them all together and says, look, we've been ordered to go do this thing. Kill all these people. We're supposed to take them out to the forest, like 1,000 or whatever it was, and we're going to execute them out there and bury them out there. I don't want to do this order, but it's war, and this is an order. Anybody who does not want to participate in this can walk away right now. No repercussions. And as a platoon of whatever it was, 200 guys, I think it was 200 men, something like that. Don't quote me on the numbers. How many of them walked away from it? I think the author said 7. There are only 7 of them who said, I can't do this. That means that the rest of them, they probably didn't sit there and go all right, let's go kill some Jews today. They probably were just it's my duty. I have to do it. I know. No other context would they ever do that. And so whenever we say I'm not capable of evil, we aren't able to recognize the fact that we can be susceptible to those things, we make ourselves vulnerable to it. And that goes back to that agape. Are you a kind person? You know you're a kind person if you're kind to everybody. What if somebody else is mean to me? Do you allow that person to determine your character? Well, I'm honest with everybody. You don't lie to anybody. Well, I'm not lying to people who deserve it, so then you allow another person to determine if you're a moral person or not. You allow other people to dictate your character. And again, it's not a condemnation. I'm just explaining the case. Agape is a thing that you do because it's the right thing to do. Well, what if you fall out of love, whatever that means? There is no falling out of love in this case, because love is a duty. It's an action. You make a commitment to somebody to love and cherish from this day forward through sickness and health till death do us part. Unless, asterisk, I kind of fall out of love. You know what I mean? I love them, but I'm not in love with them. That's not what it says. It's a definitive statement. But what if they fill in the blank? You let them decide on your commitment. Now you can build it into your vows, I suppose. I promise to stay with this person forever unless you cheat or unless you abuse me. You can build it in there. You might say, well, it's understood. Maybe. But it's also interesting, though, that, again, the more words that we have to describe it, the less divorce we have. In other words, the more responsibility and duties that we give ourselves, it seems like the more we fulfill them. If you think that, if you think that psychopaths are dangerous, wait till you see what weak people are capable of. People with no purpose, no moral standing, no virtue, no character. And it terrifies me because I know some of you will find out what those people are capable of. And some of you are those people. Not that I know, personally know, but just statistically, that's the case. So once you're aware of it, it's easy, now it's to make a decision to what you're going to become. So, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Not what I was expecting it to go in. But happy Monday anyway, huh?